4:36.
Okay, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the November 3rd, 2022 Historic Resources Commission meeting. And I'm going to ask our Vice Chair, Ed Marashi, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance. Flag, the United States of America. For which it stands, indivisible.
Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Christie. Here. Commissioner Cornelius,
Present.
Commissioner Hardy. Here. Commissioner McLaughlin,
Here.
Commissioner Peña Sarmiento, Commissioner Shipp,
Present.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Here.
Chair Rush.
Present.
Chair, you have quorum with Commissioners Carpenter and Peña Sarmiento absent and Commissioner Shipp attending via virtually.
Okay. All right, before we begin, I would like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphones on when speaking and off when not speaking. When speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you so that your voice can be properly recorded for posterity and for all the viewers at home. Thank you. Members of the public may attend Planning Historical Resources Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in this meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal, www.santa-ana.primegov.com/public/portal, and to YouTube, www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom. Enter meeting ID 816-0831-7275. When the item you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID 816-0831-7275. When the item you would like to comment on is being discussed, press *9 to let us know you would like to speak. You'll be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you may press *6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. I see we have two folks who wish to speak on non-agenda items. Are there any more than that?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please dial *9 and then *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds.
Okay, do I call these folks up now?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. All right, I'm going to call these up as just two of you. Ivan Pitts, to be followed by Milana Oyenuga. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Ivan?
Fine if Milana goes first.
No, I don't care.
Okay.
No,
Ladies first, of course, right?
ladies first. So smart man. Ms. Oyenuga, you have 3 minutes. So we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much. My name is Milana Oyanuga, and I am the president of the Historical Society for Second Baptist Church. The Historical Society was formed in 2019. It's a 12-member committee made up of both Second Baptist Church members and First Baptist Church members. The mission of the Historical Society is to manage and preserve the histories of Second Baptist Church, which was established in 1923, and First Baptist Church, which was established in 1871 to 2019. To accomplish our mission, we communicate the church's impact in the community and around the world through visual display, technology, education, church anniversary, and community outreach. The church has been a part of Santa Ana for 99 years. During that time, we've been blessed with 16 pastors. Our longest serving pastor was John McReynolds, who served for 29 years. Today, we are blessed with our current pastor of 10 years, Ivan S. Pitts, who I will introduce to you to discuss the history of the church and our impact today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my extreme honor and privilege to be here with you today. In 1923, the Second Baptist Church of Santa Ana, which is the oldest African-American church in Orange County, was established. It was established with help of the First Baptist Church of Santa Ana. During those times, it was illegal and inappropriate for African-Americans, Blacks, coloreds, Negroes, or whatever you called them at that time, to worship together. And so the church helped the Second Baptist Church be established as a separate entity 99 years ago. What we're requesting from this esteemed group of men and women is to support the fact that we would like to have historical markers in 4 places in Santa Ana located on the sidewalk of the 4 places that the church existed over the past 99 years. In February, we celebrate 100 years. Why would we want these historical markers placed, and why is it so important now? Most churches don't live to be 100 years. That's one. 2, it recognizes 3 things. 1 is that we have progress. Now we are a church where all people are welcome. As a matter of fact, our vision statement is that we want to demonstrate the love of Christ to every nation, every generation, and for every situation. And our church has shown that. We have people of every race and ethnic background in our worship center. We have people who come from jails and drugs, and people who are presidents and principals who all worship in our church together. So having this marker lets us know, or these markers lets us know that we have progressed. Secondly, it gives people hope that we can be better than our worst selves. We were founded as a separate and segregated entity, and now we have hope that we can all be together. Now, if we were in church, you all would say amen at this point, but I'll keep moving on.
I'll say amen.
Amen, thank you. But lastly, and I think this is important, and is that this is a challenge. This is a challenge to remind people in Santa Ana and throughout Orange County that we can do better, that we can be the change we desire to see. And so that's why I think that is important for these historical markers. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll take my seat as I have 44 seconds. You can't tell anyone I ever did something less than 3 minutes, or I'll mess up all my credibility at church. But the thing I think that is important, we asked a question about 7 years ago. If the Second Baptist Church of Santa Ana was to disappear, would anyone care? And the answer wasn't yes, and it wasn't no, it was we didn't know. So we made a commitment to really make an impact in the community. Here's what we have done over the last 3 years since COVID. Over $300,000 of our income has been given back to local entities to make a difference. New Hope Elementary School, Wise Place, Southwest Community Center, local and abroad. So that's why I think our church is important, not because we're the
Speaker,
biggest
your
or
3
the
minutes
best,
are up.
but because it is important to know from whence we have come, for hope, progress, and challenge. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak 10 seconds longer.
All right, could I ask a question?
Of course.
Mr. City Attorney, can I ask him a question? I'm not going to bring anything to a vote. I'm just going to ask him a question.
Mr. Chair, as you know, the public comment period is typically not a two-way exchange. It's really just for the commission to hear comments.
Okay.
If it's a, something straightforward or simple, then that
I
could
think
be
this is a
permitted, but-
simple request. Did I understand you to say that Second Baptist was sponsored, created by First Baptist, which, as I know it, is at 1010 West 17th.
Used to be there. They are
Used to be there, yeah,
Yes.
that
They have
congregation disbanded.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Madam Secretary, we have no other speakers for this portion of the meeting.
Correct.
All right. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. One motion for all consent items unless an item is pulled for separate discussion. Is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from the September 8th, 2022? Item B, excused absences. And I don't know, I don't see here, were there any commissioners to have excused absences? I don't see them listed here.
Traditionally, what the commission has done in the past is held on item A and voted at the end to see if commissioners were to show up to excuse the absences of those who come late or not at all. The only confirmed absences that I have is for Commissioner Carpenter.
Commissioner Carpenter? So he indicated he would not be here.
Correct.
And what has been our practice in the past? You're saying typically wait till the end of the meeting, see if they show up?
That's correct.
All right, well, I don't have a problem doing that. Anyone object? Alberta?
I move for the approval of the minutes of the September 8th, 2022.
So we have a motion and a second on the approval of the minutes. Are there any in opposition?
We do a roll call vote.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? one more
Must you
time,
do a
please?
roll call vote if
Yeah.
we have no one in opposition?
Yes.
All right, Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Ship,
Aye.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Aye.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Vote is approved with majority.
Okay. All right, that concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to the business calendar session. I will now review the process for the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide.
Pardon me, Chair. The motion that took place was to move item A for a later vote and submit to item B. There's still item C, D, and E under consent calendar.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to hold on to item B on the consent calendar and then consent to items C through E on the consent calendar.
I second that.
Commissioner Christie? Okay.
Okay, Pedro, take a bow on that, please stand and take a bow because of the fact that these are all.
Commissioner Christie, can you please turn on your microphone?
I'm sorry. Stand up and take a bow. Because on all of these are coming in for the Mills Act, okay? And to put the property on the Mills Act is now, what, $2,500 down from, I forgot the exorbitant amount. But in your report on each one of the properties, you not only put in what the repairs are going to, the tax benefit by being placed on the Mills Act, what those specific repairs are going to be, but you also put in how much each of these properties is saving annually. And I think the least amount was $653.85 all the way up to over $1,900 annually in tax saving by being placed on the Mills Act. Let's see. Okay, 2,500. How long am I going to get this in return back? Are you kidding me? What a bargain. Thank you so much, because now, you know, residents out there can see exactly annually how much they're going to be saving on taxes in order to repair that property. So I just want, to thank you. Did an excellent job on that and expanding, you know, the presentation so that the rest, you know, that the community know exactly how important it is in applying for the Mills Act, when they're going to get back the return on that $2,500 and the benefits more after that. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alberta. All right, we have a motion and we have a second to vote on items C, D, and E. Shall we now do a roll call vote, Madam Secretary?
I believe staff has a presentation available for this time. For the, okay. All right, so for the motion, we have Commissioner Cornelius, and for the second, we have Vice Chair Marashi. Roll call vote. Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius?
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Ship?
yes,
Vice Chair Marashi?
Aye.
Chair Rush?
Aye.
Motion approved. By
Okay.
majority vote.
Okay. I will now review the process for the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will be opened. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, strictly voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note the formal action by the Historic Resources Commission shall become effective after the 10-day appeal period unless the City Council holds a public hearing on the matter. Then the formal action will become effective on the day following the hearing and decision by the City Council. An appeal from the decision or requirement of the commission must be filed with the clerk of the council and a copy sent to the planning department within 10 days of the date of commission's action. The appeal may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. This is the time and place for the public hearing on item number 1, Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-21, Historic Register categorization number 2022-15, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-22, located at 2123 North Freeman Street. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose regarding this item?
I do.
Commissioner Christie?
Yes, I visited the property on Friday and but I did not meet with any of the residents.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Okay, staff member Andrea Dumovich Haywood will now provide a brief presentation.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. It's nice to see you all again after a long break, and I'm happy to be back. And I look forward to working more closely with you all on historic projects. So I'll begin. Okay. In this slide, I provided the landmark category requirements for listing in the City of Santa Ana's Register of Historic Properties.
Andrea, can you speak right into the microphone?
Is this better?
That's better.
Sorry.
Like pull it up closer to you, maybe it'd be easier.
It's been a while. Okay. So during this meeting, we will look at 2 landmark category listings for consideration. There we go. And so for landmark category overview, the building, structure, object, or site is on the National Register or appears to be eligible to be placed on the register. It is on the state register, or it appears to be eligible to be placed on the register, or it has a historical/cultural significance to the city and or has a unique architectural significance. So item number 1, the Honer House. This item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property addressed at 2123 North Freeman Street within the West Floral Park neighborhood on the Santa Ana Register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The Honer House is architecturally significant as an outstanding and intact example of the contemporary ranch style, which was heavily influenced by the mid-century modern architecture popular at the time of its construction in 1957. The first owner and architect was Donald A. Honer, son of prominent Santa Ana developer and contractor of the house, Allison Honer. The house qualifies for listing in the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties under Criterion 1 for embodiment of the distinguishing characteristics of a contemporary ranch style residential building and for its use of the direct gain passive solar design. Its use of floor to ceiling casement windows and double French doors are grouped to allow air and light to flow through the home and enable passive solar cooling. Additionally, the house has been categorized as landmark as a demonstrative example of the contemporary ranch style and its unique architectural significance in Santa Ana. Character defining features of the house include its medium pitched, complex hipped roof, interior brick chimney at the center of the front facing wing, wide overhanging eaves with exposed rafters and a continuous wood fascia, vertical wood siding, the primary entrance composed of a slab door flanked by obscured glass side lights, grouped casement and fixed windows over wooden spandrel panels, double French doors, jalousie windows, original exterior lighting on the west wing, and a brick paved front courtyard enclosed by vertical wood fence. Staff recommends the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-21 and HRC 2022-15 and recommend the city council authorize HPPA 2022-20 or 22, sorry. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Christie?
Good. Thank you, Allison. Thank you for your report. And once again, if the commission would look on page 1-4, it says that if this is approved as landmark and then with the Mills Act, one of the things I went through as listed is the repairs to the historic window screen repair, termite inspection treatment. I did see a little. Repair gas supply line for fireplace, repair and replace broken windows in living room, repair crack in the garage cement floor, and repair damaged screen in a garage skylight. So these were all the things, Allison, right? Yeah.
Andrea.
Andrea, I'm so
It's okay.
sorry. I don't know why I have Allison Horner. Okay. of the greed, and you pointed out to exactly, especially since it's being categorized as landmark here.
Those items were actually proposed by the owners. And typically, my understanding is the Mills Act contracts that the city agrees to have are often properties that are in pretty pristine condition that don't have a lot of projects that need to be done. But occasionally there are some that they do need projects to be worked on, and they can use the Mills Act tax rebate to put the money back into the home. So the owners here, they did see the opportunity to use some of their savings to put back in the home, and they gave us this list.
And speaking of that, say it's estimated of $1,501.50 so far annually, right? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for including that.
Thank you, Commissioner Christie. Are there any other questions or comments from staff? Okay. The public hearing is now open. Does the commission have any comments or questions of the applicant? Would the applicant like to come forward? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Scott Michaelis. My wife Lisa and I recently moved into this house. I appreciate Andrea's and Pedro's work on this initially. We're very proud of this house. It was we recently moved into it. Like I mentioned, it is a pristine mid-century modern house that has not changed since 1957. We'd certainly like to keep it that way. The second reason certainly would be the first passive solar cooled house in Santa Ana. I think that has significance because even back in 1957, they were working on ways to save energy. And this house, through its windows and through its design, does just that. The owner family has lived in it since 1957. We are the second owner of a house that was built in 1957. To me, I'm very proud of that. We hope to carry this forward and honor the owner name moving forward, who have really helped build Floral Park and West Floral Park. That's all my comments.
Any questions, commissioners? No? Okay. Commissioner Christie?
I just want to comment. That is a magnificent home. As soon as I finally found Fremont, I had to ask the postman, where's Fremont? Freeman, and she directed me. But anyway, that as you turn on that street and it just jumps out at you. It is a magnificent structure. I don't know how architects plan. I can't even think about next month, but to look 50 years into the future, serve an architectural design that's going to retain importance and attain its aesthetic beauty in that. And plus the landscaping around there is just absolutely fabulous on that. So you said you moved into the house. Did you live before in Santa Ana or someplace else?
My wife and I lived in Irvine for the past 27 years. So we're very much enjoying Santa Ana and the diversity in Santa Ana.
You're a refugee from Irvine.
Yeah, we love stealing Irvine people. They come in and all of a sudden, they just change their attitude about and tell their friend. Yeah, agree with me, right, John? He's laughing over here. It's so true. And everything. So welcome. And we really appreciate you respecting our historical properties and the significance of place here in Santa Ana. Welcome.
Thank you for your comments. And I've always said this before, but in my eyes, the city of Orange has Eichler. And I think in Santa Ana, we have Donald Honer that designed this house and built it. And I agree, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Sir, do you happen to know, or maybe Andrea, how many Donald Honer designed homes do we have in Santa Ana?
I don't know. Sorry.
Do you know that, sir? You don't know.
I don't know. I apologize.
No problem. We won't make our vote contingent on that. So, all right. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communications on this applicant?
We have not received written communication.
Okay. Okay. If you're attending this meeting and, oh, I guess that's for you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dear.
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and then *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay. All right, the public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to approve this matter?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Christie,
I recommend that we adopt the resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-21 and Historic Register categorization number 2022-15. And number 2, recommend that the city council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Scott and Lisa Michaelis. Thank you. Subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city and city attorney.
Second.
who's the second?
I did.
All right. It's Commissioner Cornelius, right?
Correct.
All right. All right. Madam Secretary, did you get that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Ship,
yes,
Vice Chair Marashi,
Aye.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commission members Carpenter and Peña Sarmiento absent.
All right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, this is the time and place for the public hearing on item number 2. Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-15, Historic Register categorization 2022-9, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-12, located at 2218 North Ross Street. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item? Commissioner Christie.
On Friday, I stopped by the property, but I did not, the owner was not at home.
Okay, anyone else?
Well, the only thing that I've got is, I'm not within 500 feet of his house. But he's the chair of our historic council, and Ed and I are both part of that. Don't know whether that's considered to be a conflict of interest.
I guess we'll defer to the city attorney.
Commissioner, with those limited facts, most likely not. But if you are concerned in the least, it's always within your purview to recuse yourself out of an abundance of caution. But we would need some additional facts to make a more complete analysis.
I don't think it's, something that's really, will bring it down. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that we are working with him as part of our team for, month after month. And we've been doing it for 10 years with him, so.
Ed and Mark, you have my word. I'll wear black until they set you free.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Not good. I'm good with orange, though.
Well, you're going to be wearing orange. I'll wear black.
Yeah. Sure.
Mark Wissio is saying, go ahead and do it, but ask forgiveness
Yes,
later.
yeah, well, there's a lot of that going on.
Oh, John Funks loves that. Yeah. Okay, Andrea Dumovich Haywood will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you. So the next item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property addressed at 2218 North Ross Street, located within the Floral Park neighborhood on the local historic register, and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owners. The Leroy Quick House was built in 1950 and is a highly individual example of the late Tudor Revival style in Santa Ana. The house was built by builder Howard Renshaw, and the architect is unknown. The house qualifies for listing on the register under Criterion 1 as a very intact and highly individual example of the late Tudor Revival style in Santa Ana, keynoted by partial stone construction. Additionally, the house has been categorized as landmark because it has unique architectural significance as an example of the post-World War II Tudor Revival style with partial stone construction in Floral Park in Santa Ana. Character defining features that should be preserved include its steeply pitched, cross-gabled and hipped roof, minimal overhanging eaves, a prominent front gabled entry bay, fieldstone walls which extend along the entire primary east facade of the building to either sides of the chimney on the south elevation, stucco lapboard and vertical siding, a prominent stone chimney, fenestration that includes multi-paned and diamond-paned casement and picture windows with steel frames, a recessed primary entrance, vents at the gables end, shed roofs over secondary entries, wood shutters, and a fieldstone wall in the backyard. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-15 and HRC 2022-9 and recommend City Council authorize HPPA 2022-12. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions or comments of staff?
I have
Commissioner
one.
Christie? Oh,
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, ladies first. Commissioner
Yes.
Christie and then Vice Chair Marashi.
No, go ahead, Vice Chair.
What was the basis of being landmark again for this particular house?
Staff found that the design, the style was highly individual, very unique for Santa Ana as a late Tudor Revival style with the stone construction, that's solid stone construction. Staff was able to tour the inside and we saw that it wasn't just a veneer. So all of those reasons it was found significant under Criterion 1.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Christie?
And what you need, you know, I haven't traveled the world, but I watched House Hunter interview. Out and visit, I go in Ireland or in the hills of Scotland, you know, back in the time, and I'm going, oh my God, look at this. I've never, all the other Tudor are this reminds me of what Irish would do, that their condition.
Commissioner Christie, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Microphone.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, it was probably just as well because remember the Tudors are English, not Irish. Just a
Well, I
point.
don't care. I'm just watching House Hunter Internationals and when they go back into the hills and Americans go to buy and rent those properties, like they go kind of thing, but they show structures like this, okay? So I don't care if the Tudor English or not. I'm looking at what my limited world experience is on House Hunters International. And when you, like I said, when you pull up to this home, you just go, oh my goodness, you know? And everything. And then to complete it, the landscaping, it just absolutely complements that whole environment of that house, you know, to bring it a prominent attention to that. And I do know that you've listed also that the Mills Act, they're going to be doing more landscaping and more painting on that. And they're going to be saving the first year approximately $1,008.83 annually. Oh my God, what a bargain, you know, for this. But anyway, I could see why we're putting this as landmark, because I don't know about you. You have more treasures like that. I've never seen anything like this. And once again, it jogged the diversity of homes that we have in the Floral Park area neighborhood. So thank you for putting this in that classification.
Alberta, did it make you want to have a wee dram of scotch when you got home?
Jameson.
I see you're determined to make that an Irish, of Irish heritage. Okay. Are there any other commissioners that have comments? Questions of staff? No. All right, the public hearing is now open. Does the commission have any questions or comments of the applicant? If the applicant's here, would you please come forward?
Yes, I believe he's on Zoom.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, thank you so much. It's just an honor and privilege to be with you guys today. Unfortunately, I'm also a school administrator, and we had a safety conference out of the county. So I'm actually over in Palm Springs County attending a safety conference. Just wanted to say thank you. We are honored to live in Floral Park community. And thank you for the comments regarding to the stone on the house. And that was the first thing that me and my wife fell in love with. It is an amazing home. We are just so honored to be part of the Floral Park Association. And we're also looking to give back. I currently sit as the co-president of our historical association, working with a lot of additional other families in the community and supporting keeping our community a historic community. We're honored to live in the Leroy Quick house and just feel that this is kind of the next step of continuing the legacy of historic homes within the community, and just appreciate what you do on a daily basis as well. Thank you.
Okay. Recording secretary, have we received any written communication? It appears there's one member of the public that would like to comment on this item.
As for written communication, we have not received any written communications. And if there are any other potential commenters attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and then *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds.
Okay, we'll start with Malaysia Oinuga.
You'll get it by the end of the meeting.
Easy for you to say. Yes.
Milana Oyanuga, I just had a quick question. What is the, how old does a property have to be before it is considered as a historical property?
Well, generally speaking, it's 50 years.
Okay,
That isn't absolutely cast in concrete. Am I correct? Yeah.
that was my only question. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Do we have anyone via Zoom or phone calls?
There are no additional
No.
speakers.
Okay. All right. No one else wish to speak? All right. Public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to approve this matter? And I will need a second. Mr. Christie?
Okay, I move to adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-15 and Historic Register categorization number 2022-9. And number 2, recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Jim Perez, subject to non-substantial changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Christie, a second by Commissioner McLaughlin, a second. Madam Secretary, would you like to take roll call vote?
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Shipp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Aye.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority with commission members Carpenter and Peña Sarmiento absent.
Okay, congratulations.
Can you hear us, John?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Really appreciate that.
Okay, that concludes the business calendar. Moving on to the administrative matters. The first item on the work study calendar session is best practices for exterior alterations to historic properties. Please note no action will be taken on this item. Staff member Andrea Dumovich Haywood will now provide a presentation on exterior alterations to historic properties.
Thank you, Chair Rush. Okay, well, thank you for introducing it. So tonight I will be speaking on historic additions and view sheds, which will be an HRC training and just a general training for anyone wanting to know more about appropriately adding additions to historic properties. Presentation overview. This presentation will cover the following items listed on this slide. In general, I will review the city's process for historic additions, preservation treatment of historic properties, go over online resources, discuss Santa Ana project examples that have been approved by the HRC. And lastly, I will end with historic landscape and view sheds. Santa Ana Historic Addition Review. Additions to historic properties are guided by the Santa Ana Municipal Code, also known as SAMC, using various definitions and processes. The SAMC contains relevant definitions, including what is a historic property, modification, and certificate of appropriateness. In general, there are two processes afforded to homeowners for historic additions. Number one is staff level review and approval, and the second is Historic Resource Commission action. For staff level, this would be for simple projects that do not require a HEMA or Certificate of Appropriateness or COA. The staff will follow the Secretary of Interior standards when reviewing all historic modification requests. If a building is deemed dangerous by the building official, a COA is not required for building repair and can be approved at staff level. However, staff will ensure that building modifications be consistent with the overall architectural design and historic character of the structure and blend in with the surrounding environment. Additionally, staff may review and approve like-for-like replacement of character defining features. Staff encourages repair before replace. And if that's not possible, replace with like-for-like when repair is not feasible. One example would be restoring original wood windows that have minimal wood rot to maintain the original wood materials. That could be approved at staff level. Projects that are not like-for-like replacement, often large-scale projects, staff requires that the applicant work with historic consultants to ensure the project meets the Secretary of Interior standards prior to submitting for HRC hearing and issuance of a COA. So the second process that the city follows for more complex historic additions and modifications is to require HRC review. This is for projects that require a HEMA and a COA issued. The HRC follows the Secretary of Interior standards when reviewing all historic modifications. The HRC reviews replacement/modification of character defining features that are not like-for-like. For example, a rear addition that requires the removal of one original window for a new door would have to go to the HRC. And just note that the HRC may impose and or recommend conditions of approval that are deemed reasonable and necessary for projects requiring HRC approval. And I just wanted to put out there the Secretary of Interior standards that there are 4 different approaches to treating historic properties. I won't read each one, but they include preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, and reconstruction. Certified local government, I wanted to make you aware that Santa Ana is a certified local government, which is a municipality that is committed to local historic preservation and has demonstrated this through certification process. Alterations and rehabilitation of structures listed on our city's register, the California Register, or the National Register must all comply with the Secretary of Interior standards. And then in return, CLGs receive federal funding and technical assistance for their preservation programs. Of the 4 different approaches that I just mentioned, I will review the one that is most often used, which is the standards for rehabilitation. I won't read each one, but in summary, the objective is to retain and protect the property's character defining features, including original materials, finishes, and the craftsmanship. Avoid changes that create a false sense of historical development. The remaining standards here speak to the importance of repairing rather than replacing historic features. And if necessary, replace to match in kind. I do want to read the last 2 of the standards for rehabilitation here because they relate directly to additions. So standard number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. And then the last, number 10, new additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. So those last 2 are very important for historic additions. And then this is just a reference here. It's a good tool to know when reviewing historic additions. These guidelines recommend how to apply each standard to historic properties. For more information and to review this document, that I've included the URL below, and I believe we'll be making this presentation available to all of you. There's also the National Park Service preservation briefs. They publish briefs that recommend methods and approaches for preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring historic buildings that are consistent with their character. There are 50 briefs that you could read. They range in topics such as roofing, wood window repair, painting, stained glass repair, etc. And this can also be accessed online through the link below. Of the 50 briefs, preservation brief number 14, that is regarding new exterior additions to historic buildings. That is one I wanted to note for tonight's discussion that is relevant. And I also provided the link. I won't go into detail, but it does talk about best practices for additions. So now I'll move on to examples of additions. The image on the left shows preferred locations for historic additions, which are placed at the rear, out of sight from the public right-of-way. Not preferred is to add additions to the front of the house or alongside it. The image on the right is an example of a rear addition that is compatible with the historic home with the materials, and it is not visible from the street. On the left, we have an example of preferred dormer additions to a historic home, which are consistent in style and scale to the historic roof. You can see what is not preferred, which is below that. To the right is an example of a single dormer that was added to this property. And you can see it avoids overwhelming or cluttering the roof line with multiple dormers, and it's consistent with the style and character of the home. And then the Santa Ana citywide design guidelines, I just wanted to point out that we have these available as an additional tool for staff when reviewing historic resources. This is in chapter 13 and appendix A of the design guidelines, and they apply to all structures listed on the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties. Topics in the guidelines include compatibility, scale and massing, architectural style, materials and treatments, and additions. Now I'm just going to discuss a few approved project examples that were approved by the HRC, just to refresh your memory. So for this example, 2311 North Santiago, it was a historic exterior modification application, or HEMA, to allow for reconfiguration of the rear elevation to include 3 new double hung windows and 2 new French doors and an interior remodel, as well as the removal of a window from the south elevation. And this property was listed as contributive in 2021 and approved by the HRC in July of 2022. And you can see the site plan to the right, in the dark shaded area is the area of work to be done. So for that project, you can see the existing and proposed plan drawings of the rear elevation on the left, and then a photo on the right of the rear elevation prior to any work being done. You can see the change of the windows and doors that are being proposed. And then the side elevation of the same project. On the left is the existing windows prior to any changes. And then on the right, the plans show the proposed replacement window with a slightly different light configuration that will match what is existing, the window next to it. So that was approved. The next project example that was approved is for 524 West 19th Street for a HEMA to allow exterior modifications consisting of a patio deck and a rear addition. This property was listed on the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties as contributive in 2014, and it was approved by the HRC in March 2021. Here are the side elevations where you can see the proposed addition with continued siding and windows to match the historic building and a continued side gabled roof. The front elevation on the right, you can see has no proposed changes to that. The rear is where most of the proposed changes occurred, with a new front facing gables, new siding, windows and doors, all of which are distinct yet compatible with the historic home. And this project was approved. And then the last example is for 1722 North Heliotrope Drive. Another HEMA was proposed to allow a new bathroom and addition. This property was listed as key on the city's historical register, and it was approved by the HRC in July of 2020. For this one, the far right of the north elevation is along the building's rear. So the work being done, you can't see from the street. You can see the addition has a new window that is compatible with the historic building. And then along the rear, sorry, I just lost my spot. You can see the existing and proposed elevations where an existing window was removed for the addition and a new window was added. Okay, almost done. This is towards the end now, historic landscapes and view sheds. So in addition to reviewing the existing building when evaluating a historic addition, staff and the HRC also considered the existing historic landscape. Items considered within a historic landscape may include, but they are not limited to, ancillary buildings, walls, fences, steps, lawns, paths, walkways, plants, trees, etc. The view shed of a historic property, which is the ability to see the property from the public right of way, is also taken into consideration when reviewing projects. So the National Park Service Secretary of the Interior recommends identifying, retaining, preserving features of the building site that are important in defining its overall historic character, and that may include trees. Retaining the historic relationship between buildings and the landscape is recommended. The National Park Service does not recommend removing, relocating landscape features, thereby destroying the historic relationship between buildings and the landscape. And I wanted to point out to you that our Mills Act contract section 3C has a short discussion on view sheds of historic properties. And it says a view corridor enabling the general public to see the historic property from the public right of way shall be maintained. And owner shall not be permitted to block the view corridor to the property with any new structure, such as a wall, fences, or shrubbery, so as to prevent the viewing of the historic landmark by the public. The contract does not state that the trees must be entirely removed, but pruning trees and shrubs to view the historic property is overall acceptable maintenance. Trees, especially those noted as character defining features of the property, should be maintained and well manicured. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm open for questions and answers. Thank you.
Any questions from the commissioners?
I do.
Commissioner Christie?
Andrea, can you go all the way back to one of the slides, especially when you have the COA and session on the COA?
At the very
Something threw
beginning.
me.
Towards the beginning.
Yeah, towards the beginning,
Uh,
staff level review.
okay.
Okay. If a if a building is deemed dangerous by the public building, not required for building repair. Okay, so in other words, it's already a public safety incident. I went by so fast, I'm going, what did that say? So we can all automatically approve this, with the condition of that without any other,
Yeah, staff can approve it because it's a safety issue.
but it has to go back to be approved to make it what we approved on our register, right? The shape of the building?
I don't know, that's not my understanding. I'd have
Okay,
to,
if it's in a hazardous state and it's on our historic register, okay, it has to be demolished, right?
So
Explain that because it's on our register.
what this exception does is that it allows for the curing of an immediate public safety issue. It does not exempt it from the staff requirement because, as Andrea mentioned, even under the staff level review, we follow the Secretary of Interior standards. So we still use those standards to apply for any replacement or reconstruction. Just in this specific case, when it's a public safety issue, it doesn't have to go to the Historic Resources Commission for review.
Okay.
It doesn't exempt or preempt us from applying the Secretary of Interior standards.
Okay, thank you. I mean, that went by real quick. And I want to make sure I understand that correctly. Okay, and we will be sent a hard copy of this mailed to us on this presentation. So we'll have it out of our resume. Okay, thank you.
Janelle, did you have a comment?
Yes, I,
Commissioner Hardy?
thank you, Chair Rush. I have 3 questions.
My first question is, at the staff level review, I'm curious where neighborhood review falls. Is that just under the umbrella of staff level review? And if it is, shouldn't that be mentioned somewhere in the presentation or in the documentation?
Could add a slide, yeah, for neighborhood review that can be done at the staff level. I mean, it's sent out to the neighborhoods.
I
plan.
think that needs to be included
Okay.
somewhere so that there's no question about where it fits in, and that, you know, if it comes up and somebody doesn't know that exists, that, you know, this will avoid that problem.
Sure, and I think that's a note, but I think the reason why the staff did not include it in the discussion, because that's not applicable everywhere. Within our city, we have a couple historic district and areas that are not, even though not designated, but has SD specific development that requires it. That's why we have it, but in areas that are that have historic buildings without those requirements, it's simply at the staff level, but absolutely we can include that as noted for the French Park or Henninger Park.
Great, thank you. My second question is, I'm thinking maybe it was under the view shed where you listed different elements that were part of what could be included in the view shed, or that shouldn't be altered or removed. And my concern was you didn't list driveways. I think that's very important because we do have Hollywood type driveways or whatever they're called. And there might be other kinds of driveways that should, you know, be under consideration and should not be altered whenever possible. Should be
What was it?
stay the same.
This slide right here, the second bullet, or was it the next? I can go to the next slide.
Might be it. I don't know if that's where driveways would go also, but walkways is there.
Yeah, I couldn't list everything, but I can add the driveway.
Yes, please do, because a lot of people don't realize that those are unique driveways and, you know, they're not just a nuisance. So that'd be great. And my third question is, when does our HRC review kick in? There's a particular instance where we have a building that's on the local register, and I understand that they're either looking for an architect or they're working with an architect. And you know, at what point does the architect realize and the developer and whatever the property owner realize that there's going to be a review process and they shouldn't be making any dramatic alterations even at the plan level, you know, without realizing the, you know, the preservation that's needed, the Secretary of Interior standards and the different reviews. So at what point, I mean, does the HRC review kick in, or, you know, for buildings like that?
I believe we would notify the applicant immediately at the very start. We would red flag it that it's a historic property and understand what they're trying to do and see, is it staff level? Is it a bigger project that needs to go to HRC? And we would let them know at the start, like, okay, this looks like a bigger project. You're going to have to go to a hearing and you're going to have to follow the Secretary of Interior standards. We've been doing that. So we would let them know at the beginning.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Marashi?
On the one bullet where Chairperson Christie was talking about the dangerous property, if the staff reviewed it and decided that they absolutely needed to demolish it, is that still a staff review, or would that come back to the HRC?
That is also correct. If the building official declare the condition to be a public health and safety concern, it can also be demolished as well.
No comment from Commissioner McLaughlin. Anyone else? I have a question. So for some reason, I have it in my head that we had a conversation at one of our meetings that I was of the understanding that buildings that were going to be demolished that were eligible or on our register, whatever, that was going to come before us. And we've never, I don't ever recall since that time ever hearing about a demolition permit request. You mean there's not been any demolition permits requested? Or in the last several years?
Individual can give you greater details, but I don't recall anything.
Thank you, Chair. There has been, but the city's current process for demolition is administrative, ministerial. So it's not subject to any sort of discretionary review. When a property is historic, though, it's registered historic, there is a discretionary review because it's considered a cultural resource. And by demolishing, you'd be removing a cultural resource. So there's potential environmental review that could be attributed at that time. But just properties that over a certain age that are not necessarily historic, there isn't currently a discretionary review process for demolition.
Where did I draw that from? Did I have a bad dream or was that something that was discussed as a concept or a wish or Commissioner Hardy?
Well, I know in the SDs there at one time, I don't know if it still exists in SD 40, but there was a demolition delay written in the document for all properties within the SD. I don't know if that still exists. That doesn't mean it's going to go to HRC review. I don't know if French Park still has a demo delay in their SD. That might be something you need to look into because people forget these things.
Sure.
And that would be flagged at the calendar.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Chair.
Commissioner Christie?
I think that was during my time as chair. And we were bringing it up and it came back to us that all of our historic properties are already flagged by the counter. Am I correct? All of them are. And if a person is coming in, because we were concerned about commercial development here, that, you know, and they want to come into for a demolition permit, we were going to investigate whether it comes back to us for that approval. It was supposed to come back to us during that time. So no, it was during my time as chair. And we were discussing because so many things were happening and things were falling through the crack and our properties were not being identified. And so.
That's partly correct, Commissioner and Chair. So what it was is during the time of their first memo, when it was being drafted, that the commission expressed concerns about heightened review of some properties that weren't listed or neighborhoods that had an abundance of historic properties. So the commission expressed a concern to staff about properties that are not listed to be demolished. So what we did is we identified historically sensitive areas, and that included a series of neighborhoods in the city, where we would have a heightened review of any sort of additions or alterations to structures that are not necessarily historic. So that's possibly where the conversation came from, to actually change the requirements for demolition from ministerial to discretionary. It requires changes to the city's municipal code, which hasn't been done. So, but what the city has done since that memo and that conversations with the commission is we have included a heightened review for those neighborhoods and for properties over 45 years. And there is a kind of a flag option in our internal processing systems to identify properties if they're a certain age, even if they're not historic.
That's
Okay.
correct. So that's for addition and modification, but not necessarily demolition because we don't have that authority.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, thank you, Pedro. Okay, the second item, are we, any other questions or comments about that issue? All right, we'll move on. The second item on our work study calendar is conclusion to historic preservation work program discussions. Please note that no action will be taken on this item. And staff member Pedro Gomez will now provide an overview of the historic preservation work program. And I think we all received a memorandum on that, or a copy of, I guess this is what, something to go to city council? And
That's
Pedro,
correct.
are you gonna address that with us?
I will. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
And that's correct to answer your question. This is a draft version of the memo that ideally would go to the city council. So this really is a culmination of meetings that we've had with the commission. One, to summarize that very topic that I was just talking about, that first memo process to establish that connection to the city council, to start identifying concerns that the commission had. And it actually was effective because the council gave direction to staff to move forward with some short-term, long-term, and midterm items that the city went forward with. What I was mentioning, this is a culmination of like a second iteration of concerns that were brought up by the HRC and some planning and building agency recommendations, as well as implementation measures that were introduced as part of the very first historic element of the city. So what we've done is we've organized all of these implementation measures to concerns from the Historic Commission and Planning and Building Agency into really three goals listed, also happen to be listed on the general plan as historic areas and resources, cultural and historic resources, and historic preservation. So all of the items that are summarized in this memo can be broken up into those three goals. So what we're looking for today is really kind of a blessing from the HRC to move forward with this draft memo to the city council to again establish that conversation and let them know, hey, we're looking to establish this work program. These are the items in summary that we'd like to start with. Please provide direction to staff to move forward with these. So that's really what we're looking forward to today.
Thank you, Pedro. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Christie?
Yeah, on the HRC recommendation, to expand historic programs to reach to recognize and identify importance of African-American history and impacts in the city on this. And as you know, my 5 years as chair, I've been educating the commission on importance of historically, the African-American contribution and the historically sensitive area of where this community started out. And so to have that, and you're expanding it even more, it really makes me happy. And to see one of the most important things that we've done, and Commissioner Shipp, if he's still on the line, will know that that area, when I came on as at Rate and Willits, that was owned by one of the unions, and it was just blank property. And at first the city wanted to put low-income housing there. But like a Helen Brown, Tim project, if you remember Helen Brown from Civic Center, they wanted to put that kind of housing there, and it fell through, and it was just left vacant and vacant. Now they're coming in and to recognize that community. It's what is his name? Olympic gold medalist track. Carruthers, that park. They're going to build a park and name it after Carruthers, who went to Valley High School, Santa Ana College, and became an Olympic champion in racing sports. So that's saying that the committee took our suggestions in identifying and really concentrated on this community there. So, from people in that community, they're really pleased. They're really pleased that they're being recognized. And these little steps, as Reverend Pitts said today, is like bringing this together because all of us benefit, from one small step in unifying the community to expand it to all and recognize that. So I want to, see that go through. And the other ones, I think that one was to, if I read it, you wanted to also put in, no, I saw it someplace. It was so much as far as qualification for being on HRC, minimum qualifications. What would that be? what would you, what would you require? Minimum qualification. I don't have an architectural degree. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I left college to raise my family, but I know my community. So I'm just saying, would I be acceptable on your requirements without having degrees, but being a person who is recognized and worked in that community? What kind of minimum requirements to be on the HRC?
This is what you saw is a implementation measure coming from the general plan update process. So it's not something that is actually in place now in terms of implementation. It's calling for the community through the city council and the commission to come up with standards or at least qualification that would qualify a commissioner to be serving on the Historic Resources Commission. It could be something that is organically coming out of the commission's recommendation. There is no set here, but what we would rely upon is that we would go to the industry and the various resources from the state guidance with federal guidance and would provide that as the basis for discussion in the future. So we're not something today that we'll be asking, but come that time, we will gather these resources, provide the commission and the city council with the background information. And ultimately, it's going to be the city council and the commission and the community that's going to decide on what qualification it would like to see. So that.
But if you're taking my point, okay, and I could be wrong, interpretation of this, I could be wrong. Okay, if you're going with state or federal guidelines, that's a higher level. We're local community. And what I'm concerned about is that my 5 years of educating on the Black community and some of the historic significance that happened in the city long time ago, since you have new staff members and new community members, would a person like me who have this knowledge be eliminated from coming in? Or if you set your standards too high? What I'm trying to say is that we don't want to lose our history. And we don't want to have people who know the history work and have passed it down for generations to generations to not be accepted on a historic resource, because once again, you're going back to losing your identity. So that's my concern.
I think you're absolutely right. And the intent of this implementation action is not to necessarily, from your perspective, looking at removing any type of experience, cultural sensitivity or understanding of the community. I think what it does is that it brings to light that this would be a relevant conversation so that hopefully it can help actually enhance the makeup of the commission so that a wide variety and a diversity of experiences, perspective, as well as professional or personal, live experience can be contributive. So the goal here is not necessarily to, as you may think, it's to eliminate, but rather to have a process that deliberately look at what do we want to help promote and what are some of the best way to do that through our community residents and people that are in the community. So this standard is not being set today. This is setting the process for which let's help us to look at that so that it will help the city council members and the community to say that this particular commission has a focus, has a mission. Do we want to have people with diversity of experience? What level of experience we would like to see so that it can be very contributing to the process.
Okay, I hope you include my comments in this discussion.
Understood.
Because I can see it on the different things of Bloom, because we are a changing environment. And like we said, we have new people coming in from Irvine and all over, and we're losing a lot of our residents, due to age. One of them, I'm up there and so forth, that do not know, the things of the importance of Santa Ana to the Marine Corps base, El Toro, that was here. And the major part of this economy was through that Marine Corps base. Okay. So you're losing a little bit of maybe we need to have what we call living translation or living history, that can go into where some of these elders can come in and talk about. And so we have a reference library, so it's not forgotten.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a comment. Thank you, Alberta. Commissioner Christie, I have a question. So if I read this draft or look at it, so what we see on the front page under the item and the status, the back two pages represent basically the brainstorm of all the ideas we came up with. And the front page is the synthesized version of what the council basically said they wanted to act on in the immediate, midterm, and long term. Is that right? Am I looking at it correctly?
Almost. The first part is an action that's already been taken by the council based on conversations we had in 2020 with the commission. The next following stages are, like you mentioned, a summary of everything that we've talked about to date. And then what we'd like to do is consolidate those into 3 goals that are similar to the general plan goals, and then move forward to the council again with a similar list as what you see in the front, but with these new action items for a work program that we're calling 2022 to 2023.
Okay. Well, one thing that is a particular concern to me, and that is that and it's under long-term measures, establishing a local district designation program. And I have had an increasing number of neighborhood folks come to me and say, what's the status? And this is gaining more and more momentum because of the recent adoption of, what is it, AB 2011, which basically says by right, a developer can do whatever they want to do regardless of zoning. And it would appear that at least local recognition, of a historically sensitive neighborhood, such as, we'll say, Wilshire Square or Washington Square, is perhaps maybe the only protection that a neighborhood has against some of this ridiculous overreach by Sacramento. And I'm concerned that this is listed as a long-term measure.
Your concern is noted, and it is listed as a long-term measure so that we will continue to work on this. As you know, the undertaking of identifying neighborhoods and neighborhood to be historically sensitive requires a certain level of data and information and surveys that we require to do, and all that requires funding. And it's a part of our process to look at a comprehensive approach to working with the city council and the commission for this designation. I do agree with you that the overreaching action of the state often encroaches into the various neighborhoods that we have. But the particular bills that you're talking about don't impact the single family neighborhoods as they do with the commercial properties. The one that does was the subdivision SB 9. And that's the one where if it's a identify historic neighborhood that's been designated, but that would be protected, but it would have been designated at the time of when the ordinance took place. So this is still a continuing goal that we have, but it does require funding for us to move forward. So that was when I guess let's take a step back as Pedro mentioned, this was done for the first time, I believe, in 2020, as a process by which the HRC concerns and goals were put into a formal process for communication to the city council. So this is basically taking stock from that process of what we have been able to accomplish and what we're continuing to do. So this table here are things that we have to do. When it says long-term, that means that we're actually continuing to work on it. We don't have to go back and reemphasize it any further. And as part of the general plan update process, we doubled down on the fact that we need to focus on this even more. So with the adoption of the general plan in April of this year, this particular work action has been doubled down so that we will go to the city council and continue to ask for funding. We may not get all the funding in one request, but as we get funding, we will survey neighborhoods. We will work with the commissions on a local identification and designation process. And that way that we can get started and take it step by step, progressively, and not have to wait for enough funding to do all the neighborhoods at one time.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do a couple a year, 3 or 4 years, we're there, you know.
Are we talking about neighborhoods? Are we talking
Commissioner
about-
McLaughlin.
Are we talking about neighborhoods or are we talking about homes?
Neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods. So I mean, if it's neighborhood, I think what's going to happen is somewhere, somehow, the city is probably going to have to figure out how much money is going to be necessary to get that designation done. Because, you know, right now, as most people in this room understand, Floral Park is going through that designation process. And, you know, what started out to be a $25,000 proposition has now turned into somewhere around 50 to 75,000 based on a number of things, not just the getting the historic designation, but also putting out plaques like it was discussed earlier about plaques to say, you know, what neighborhood plaques to say this is a historic neighborhood, things of that nature. But if you look at no offense, Wilshire or Washington Square, I don't think they've got the neighborhood has the financial wherewithal to do historic. They'd like to do it, but they don't have that wherewithal. And it's not an inexpensive proposition regardless of size.
Mhm.
And hence, as I mentioned, under this process, the city would be taking initiative, but with the understanding that as we get funding, we will work on the priorities of identifying and designating it being locally. This is not necessarily going through the entire process to get to the state designation or the federal designation.
So you're saying like a Santa Ana
a local designation.
local?
Correct.
Okay, I mean, that has some teeth, but you know, it still needs more, I think, at this point in time.
I think a little helped, you know, as far as pushing back against Sacramento until we can change the environment up there in Sacramento. So every little block that we can do to provide protection for the neighborhoods, I mean, we should aggressively pursue and I don't want to say pushback, but protect, you know, hate pushback, that's better than that, but every little step, it's like building onto a foundation, one right after the other, and you've got strength.
Okay. Madam Secretary, we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this?
No, we have not, Chair. We have received no written communication.
All right. This concludes the work study calendar. We'll move on to comments. Are there any staff member comments?
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Ali Possescovor, if you can just stand up. I'm going to embarrass you for a moment.
Drum roll.
After having worked for the city for a number of years, I believe over a decade now, and has gone through a number of progression I'm happy to announce that Ali is your new planning services manager for the city. I'm happy to acknowledge Ali input and also participation, but also being a part of our team. And I feel that we have a very young but very talented team, as you saw tonight, with Pedro and Andrea. And under the leadership of Ali, I look forward to a very fruitful year and a future for the goals and moving forward some of the programs of this commission forward. So thank you for giving me the moment to say that. And I don't believe we'll have another meeting towards the end of the year. So happy holiday season, happy Thanksgiving, and I look forward to working with the commission in the next year.
Okay. Do you have any other staff that wants to make comments? Newly minted planning manager, did you have a speech, an acceptance speech, or?
I don't have a speech, but thank you. I just want to say, as Min shared, I've been with the city for about almost 12 years now, and I'm looking forward to submitting or supporting this commission in its functions through our very talented and hardworking staff and the guidance and support of Min. So thank you again.
All right. Well, congratulations again. So now it's time for commissioner comments. And let's see, I'll start down here to my left with Commissioner McLaughlin.
Well, I'll just say this, that one of the first weeks that Ali was working here in the city, he was given the task of chauffeuring Hallie Soboleski and myself around to see all of the historic places in the city. Remember that, Ali? Driving Miss Daisy. Miss Daisy was in the back.
I remember almost getting us in an accident on the.
Yes, I did. That happened.
Standard
too.
and Second Street.
Yeah, that happened too. And he got his first look at a double wide in Washington Square, which to this day is still.
It's a historic property. Yeah.
That's a historic property, right? But no, congratulations, Ali. You deserve it. And we look forward to continuing working with you on every level of planning. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Marashi, Vice
Oh,
Chair.
and welcome to our new historic person too. I was up at the Claremont social that they had before their home tour last couple months ago. And I started to ask questions about you, and everybody spoke very highly of you from the standpoint of what you've done at Claremont and everything else.
Commissioner Marashi.
Ali, congratulations. Looking forward to working with you. Pedro and Andrea, thank you very much for the presentation and the hard work and the great work program, study program you had today. And congratulations to all the homeowners and happy holidays to everybody on the commission and staff.
Okay, Commissioner Christie.
Oh, okay. Once again, welcome, Andrea and Pedro. Thank you so much. I mean, for including you hired some good people there. Congratulations, Ali. Thank you, John, for your legal support. I have one question back and help me out here. Ed, you probably with me when we saw this property on Flower Street. Remember the two teachers that came to us October, November, something like that. And they wanted to be on the historic property. And I think was it Millsack? I'm not sure about the Millsack, but anyway, and we took a cruise. And I'm going, oh, no. We're talking about view corridor. I mean, weeds were up in the front like this. The picture that we were shown was from a side view. You know, that's why it's important to go out and look at these properties in person. And I just want to report because they both came up and told us that they put everything in the back of the house, not the front part of the house they were working on. And we go, and you're coming to us for historic resorts, and we conditioned it for it to be placed because it was pretty close to the end toward December. What does the property look like now? You know, could somebody come back and show a picture? Because I requested a new picture of it and the efforts that they're putting in that property on that, okay?
We'll make sure at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it was 2018. 2018, something like that, that we're coming in there. But it's toward the end. It's on Flower Street, right? As you go all the way down.
We
There.
will follow up with you for the specific location and provide the commission with an update in the next meeting.
Okay, no problem on that. So once again, everyone, Thanksgiving is coming, is here. And let's take time with our families to be thankful for what we have. And especially with this crazy world that's going on, families becoming more and more important, our children are becoming more and more important. And so let's be thankful for every day that we're here and we're able, and especially this commission, we're able to protect the city of Santa Ana and improve the city of Santa Ana with our historic properties. And Christmas time is around here, okay? I promised my doctor that I would not eat any desserts to get my blood level down, blood sugar down. But anyway, so I want to wish everybody, whether you celebrate Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever your cultural celebration is during the time of Christmas, that everyone can make it safe. And I'm looking forward to 2023. Happy New Year's, yeah, and coming forth as a bright new day. Okay. With that, thank you, everyone.
Okay, next I'm going to ask Commissioner Shipp, who's online. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm listening to everything. Why would I miss?
Do you,
I just want to say, I want to thank Kelly for her fast correspondence. Every time I reach out to her, she sends me an email directly back. I want to thank Ali. And I just want to thank all the commissioners for all the work, all the hard work that we all have been doing. And just thank the city of Santa Ana for having us. And, happy Thanksgiving and all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you. Next, Commissioner Cornelius.
I'll just reiterate all my previous colleagues' comments. That's it. Thanks.
A man, a few words. All right. Commissioner Hardy.
I'll just go ahead and say happy holidays, everybody. It's been wonderful working with you. Thank you.
All right. Before I make my comments, I think we should take care of that lingering item from the very start of our meeting where we need we need a motion to either excuse or count as absent Commissioners Carpenter and Pena Sarmiento. Now, Carpenter, did he call in or write in to tell you he wasn't going to be here?
Commissioner Carpenter had let us know in advance that he would not be able to make it. He is ill. And Commissioner Pena Sarmiento, we had not received any confirmation on if she was coming or not. That's why we had pulled the item to be towards the end of the meeting to see about attendance.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to excuse all absent commissioners.
No, only Carpenter.
Well, I mean, in the spirit of the holidays, I'll excuse them. My motion.
Well, why don't you, okay, Commissioner Cornelius, be specific in your
So
motion.
I make a motion to excuse all absent commissioners.
Well, they can't be excused and absent. It's one or the other, right? Am I not correct? You
Excused
can't be both
absence.
excused and absent.
Excuse that.
Either it's an excused absence,
Right.
or we count them as absent.
Right, so the motion is to count them as excused absent, for both
Okay.
commissioners.
So we have a motion to excuse both of these missing commissioners. Do we have a second?
Wait a minute, one quick question I have. Alberta made the motion for the one person.
Mhm.
And so there was a friendly amendment made, but the first thing is there should be a second to that first motion that was made.
I think what you have was potentially a first motion and then Commissioner Cornelius made a sub motion. So the sub motion, if there is a lack of a second, then you would go back to the first motion. So at this point, it would be appropriate to ask, is there a second
Okay.
for the sub motion?
It's just two separate votes unless changed.
I guess we're going to vote on the sub motion first.
We haven't, we need a second for one of, we need a second for the second motion. that
Well,
was
I
made.
get, so we'll vote on first on Alberta's motion.
No, at
No?
this point, it would be appropriate. Is there a second for the sub motion?
Right.
By Commissioner Cornelius?
Is there a second for the sub motion? For the purposes of voting.
So now.
So now it dies, the sub motion dies.
Goes back to.
We go
Alberta.
back to Alberta's motion to excuse
Carpenter. Because he did
Carpenter,
hold it.
because he did call in, and that would mean Commissioner Peña Sarmiento would be absent. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second from Commissioner Ship.
And Commissioner Hardy. Okay, Madam Secretary, you want to call roll?
Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Aye.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Ship,
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Aye.
Chair Rush.
Aye.
Motion approved by. Sorry, motion approved by majority with commission members Carpenter and Peña Sarmiento absent.
Okay, all right. Now we'll move on to my comments. Congratulations to Ali for your promotion. So good job. Look forward to continue to work with you. Congratulations to Andrea Dumovich Haywood. You were actually hired some months ago, but you must have had an immaculate conception during the interview process because you were hired and immediately went out on maternity leave. So you'll have to tell us at a subsequent meeting or at our annual holiday party about the Immaculate Conception. So I also want to congratulate the homeowners, most of whom are virtually all not here anymore, but congratulations to them for their hard work. I, like all the rest of the commissioners, wish you all a happy holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas and so forth. I do want to bring to your attention this Saturday from 2 to 4:30. We will kick off the Historic French Park Walking Tour, which I will be leading, and that's sponsored by Preserve Orange County. So anyway, for those of you who wish to attend, you can buy tickets from preserveorangecounty.com or .org. So it's close to being sold out, but please come. So we will depart from 8th and French at 2 o'clock on this Saturday. I don't have anything else to come
Tim,
before us.
Tim,
Our-
one thing before we,
Yes,
before we close. Just an update for the house on the corner of Bonnie Bray and Benton. That is a landmark house. The owners have also removed all of the brick from around the house, the base of the house, as well as the entryway. And they're making all kinds of attempts to bring it back to a photo that was found on that particular house.
oh, that's
So
great.
there's quite a bit of
Yeah,
construction.
I drove
that's
by there
going on.
yesterday, man. There's a beehive of activity.
Right, but you notice there was no bricks anymore.
Right.
And they're now restuccoing the lower
Mhm.
portion of it.
Yeah, looks,
Yeah,
it's
so
getting there. They have a.
they're making a large investment in what they're doing. So
Yes, they are. Yeah. Oh, great. Thanks for the update. Okay, the next regular meeting will be held on Thursday, January the 5th, 2023. Is this correct? 5:30? Don't you mean 4:30? 4:30 PM here in this room, City Hall. Oh, it'll be a Ross Annex. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it'll be 4:30 in the Ross Annex Conference Room 1600. So is there a reason we're going to be there?
My apologies, Chair. It's still going to be in the council chambers. It will not be in the Ross Annex.
Oh, oh, never mind what I just said. Do I have the date right?
Yes.
Okay, I have the date right. The time here is wrong. It's 4:30, our usual appointed time, and it will be here in this room. So with that, we stand adjourned.